So yesterday we covered the Daily News hatchet job against Bernie Sanders. They invited him for an interview, and they spent the entire interview laying traps for him, trying to get him on the record to say things that they think would hurt his campaign. Now, I proved that out over a series of videos yesterday lasting about 20 minutes. And of course, one of the obvious pieces of evidence was right after they do the interview with him, the very next day they run this smear job on their front page. Bernie's Sandy Hook shame callously defends gun makers against Newtown kin lawsuit. Now, in that portion of the interview, by the way, they had asked Bernie Sanders, hey, how about these assault rifles? And he said, I'm against assault rifles. So they said, are you saying that the Newtown lawsuit against the gun manufacturers is baseless? He's like, I didn't say it was baseless. I never used that word. Now, he's against general lawsuits against gun manufacturers, and you can criticize him for that. And by the way, I've criticized him for that, right? But he never said the lawsuit was baseless, and it was obvious they were trying to put words in his mouth. And then they seemed to imply that he was in favor of assault rifles, and he had to come back and clarify and go, wait. I want to make assault rifles illegal. I want to ban them. So it was obviously an attempt to smear him, and they smeared him no matter what he answered anyway the very next day. And they did that on at least 10 issues, as I showed yesterday. Now, we wondered in the midst of that, why? What's Daily News's beef here? Do they have a dog in this fight? Well, we find out that the Daily News's owner is a one Mort Zuckerman. Now, has Mort Zuckerman ever given to the Clintons? Say it with me. Of course! Now, he's given to the Clinton Foundation, and according to Politico, he gave about $50,000 to $100,000 to the Clinton Foundation. That's from Mort Zuckerman to them. So now, wait, I'm sure that was disclosed in their interview with him, right? I'm sure they ran a huge headline about that. Hey, remember, the owner of this paper supports the Clintons, not Bernie Sanders. Oh, they didn't do that disclosure. That's interesting. Okay. Now, meanwhile, he also owns several other publications, including U.S. News and World Report. This is one of, I don't know how many headlines I can give you from there and from the Daily News, either attacking Bernie Sanders or supporting Hillary Clinton. But just a random one here from U.S. News. The most compelling story on the campaign trail. Hillary Clinton's past makes great political copy. She needs to talk more about it. The entire article is telling us about how compelling and wonderful Hillary Clinton is, and how she just needs to talk more about what a wonderful person she is. Oh, okay, well, glad to see you guys aren't biased at all and that you're revealing those disclosures and those possible conflicts of interest. Now, I don't think that that's really the main driver here. I don't think it's his love for Hillary Clinton. He is, in a lot of other respects, a diehard right-winger, and he's given to a lot of Republicans. So unsurprising that he would not like Bernie Sanders on that as well. But let's look at the bottom line here, which is what a lot of rich people look at, right? And part of the reason why they can't stand Bernie Sanders. And I'm going to give you a sense of it here. So it turns out Mort Zuckerman, who owns the Daily News, is worth about $2.4 billion. Well, okay, good for him. Well, so we did a little calculation here. Now, I'm going to admit to you that this calculation is super rough, and I'm going to tell you why it's rough, okay? But you're going to get a sense, an overall sense here of how much it would affect Mort Zuckerman's finances if Bernie Sanders was to get elected president. Maybe perhaps we can look into if that might be a motivator for him. Now, so the current capital gains tax rate is just 23.8% for income over $10 million. Okay, so that's a very low rate because if you're just have regular salary like your local dentist, your doctor, if they're in the top bracket, they might pay 39%. But if it's capital gains, you don't do anything, you just invest, you pay a lower rate. Well, that favors the already rich, so obviously Mort Zuckerman and his buddies love that. It used to be even lower under Bush. Okay, well, what would it be under Sanders? Sanders' proposal is that it would be 64.2% for income over $10 million, okay? So, well, the difference between 23.8 and 64.2 is significant. So now we assumed a 10% return on wealth from his $2.4 million, and that gets you a yearly return of $240 million that Mort Zuckerman would, quote unquote, normally make. Now, in reality, look, a lot of that capital is tied up in some of his businesses. Some of his business might make a lot more than 10%, but then they might be under a different income bracket. But even if those income brackets go way up under Bernie Sanders, sometimes he might not make all the way up to 10%, but it gives you a ballpark sense of how much money he makes and how much of a difference it would make in taxes. So current taxes that he would pay under this system, or Zuckerman, if he were to make about a 10% return on his money, is $57.12 million. Under Sanders' proposal, it would be $154.08 million, according to our calculations. So that means Mort Zuckerman has about $100 million a year on the line here. If Bernie Sanders gets elected and is president for 4 years, assuming he passes this immediately, Mort Zuckerman would lose $400 million. Now, the reality is he's not losing it. That's only taking from gains he's already made. He continues to make more and more money, but he would get taxed a little higher so that we could build out infrastructure, education, healthcare, et cetera, for everybody. But billionaires don't want things for everybody. Your kids? What does Mort Zuckerman care about your kids? No. I keep the money. I keep it, not you, okay? So you think he's going to let Bernie Sanders walk away with $100 million a year of what he perceives to be his money? Like, well, I made it. I was given money, and I'm a billionaire. I earn every cent of it. So when I press buttons like this and make investments, I deserve all of it, right? And I deserve to pay lower taxes than the average American, okay? So that's the current situation for capital gains, which is insane. So when Bernie Sanders says, no, I'm not going to tolerate that. No, we're all going to grow together. And by the way, when I give to the middle class, they're going to spend it and they're going to stimulate the economy. Mort, you'll probably make more money in the long run anyway. But he doesn't believe that. He wants to protect his own. So, gee, I wonder why Mort Zuckerman decided that he would put a hatchet right in the back of Bernie Sanders. He has about $400 million in incentive to do so. So when you see propaganda in the corporate media, understands that who owns those different media outlets. Time Warner and Comcast, for example. Time Warner owns CNN. Comcast owns NBC, MSNBC, CNBC. All of these outlets have been far more favorable to Hillary Clinton than they have to Bernie Sanders, and we've proved it in the tapes that I've shown you in the debates, the town halls, the articles, all those things. Well, those two, Time Warner and Comcast, are among the top 10 donors to Hillary Clinton over the course of her career. Mort Zuckerman thinks, you're not going to take my money, Bernie Sanders. Come here, like to do an interview with me. Yeah, we're going to be fair. No, they don't disclose anything. They're grossly unfair because Mort's got to keep his money. Can't have Bernie Sanders be president and help you instead of him.